Let me go over the three most popular ways to approach picking your guitar, and then I want to share with you a little bit of the nuance involved in each and how you decide which one to use. But disclaimer, one is not better than the other.
Guitar Geeks Unite!
You're also going to see a beautiful OM size guitar from the folks at B&G, and you're going to hear from TAC member Wendy D, who's going to share a story about how losing her parents sparked a quest for her to solidify her musical legacy for her kids and her grandkids. It is a story that must not be missed. Every guitar player, period, should hear this story. But first, we're going to have a look at the variety of guitar picking styles that are available to you. Before we dive in today, if you're an older adult learning guitar, you've really got to check out Tony's Acoustic Challenge. Every single week, I teach the fundamentals of guitar through nostalgic songs that you love. And over 41,000 older guitar learners are already inside. So go ahead and click the link in the description to see how it works. So how do you know if you're picking your guitar correctly? Well, there's a lot of ways to pick your guitar. But you're thinking to yourself, Tone, isn't picking your guitar just picking your guitar? Yes and no. Let me go over the three most popular ways to approach picking your guitar, and then I want to share with you a little bit of the nuance involved in each and how you decide which one to use. But disclaimer, one is not better than the other. Okay, these are all viable ways to play your guitar. So let me first give you the quick kind of swath of examples. You've got flat picking. You've got finger picking. You've got hybrid picking. Right? They're all different. They all bring a little bit of a different tonality to what you're playing. So why would you pick one over the other? Quick little playthrough of the examples. I just held a C chord down, first fret of the B, second fret of the D, third fret of the A. And for the flat picking example, I just started out on the A string, downstroke, upstroke on the D, down on the G, up on the B. And I just did that repeatedly. And of course, you can do single notes with flat picking. It's one of the most common ways to approach playing your guitar. It's useful, it's great if you're strumming and you want to kind of break into a single note thing. A little sloppy, but you get the idea. You have the ability to maintain that nice powerful strum and then move to those single notes pretty effortlessly because you're using the same tool. But what if you want a lighter, more dynamic feel? Or maybe you're playing blues, like old style, finger style blues. Well, the flat pick's really not going to do much for you there, which is why you'd likely choose something like finger picking, which would sound like this. And if you're following along, all I'm doing again is holding down a C chord. Thumb is going to hit that A string, index the G, thumb the D, middle the B. That's it. I'm oversimplifying it a little bit, but that's really the bedrock of playing fingerstyle guitar. So why would you choose picking the guitar in this way? Well, again, like I said, if you're playing like an old blues style, this would be a great way to do that because you can start to integrate the melody without having it cluttered up by a bunch of other strings. So you get that nice little bass and treble separation, or think of it as the bass and the melody, right? Almost like two hands playing the piano. The left hand is going to be playing the bass, the right hand is going to be playing the melody. That's what's beautiful about finger picking. And then comes hybrid picking. What the heck is hybrid picking? Hybrid picking, all it is you're holding your pick and you're using your middle and your ring finger to pick the string. So essentially your flat pick acts almost like your thumb when you were finger picking, and then your middle finger hits a string, your ring finger hits a string. And you can do that same exact pattern that I showed you right off the top with finger picking. Your pick's gonna hit the A string, middle finger the G, pick the D, ring finger the B. I had to adjust my brain there real quickly. So it's going to be pick, middle, pick, ring. Pick, middle, pick, ring. So what's great about hybrid picking? Well, it allows you to get that wonderful articulate strumming, but then switch to finger picking or something like finger picking or the texture of finger picking if you want to at will. So if you're strumming along and you want to go finger picking or add some of that finger picking texture, it could sound something like this. So how do you know which one to choose? Well, my recommendation is to try them out. Try out just flat picking a song. You know, you obviously go from strumming to a single picking line. And then maybe just try finger picking a little bit. Try hybrid picking. See if you can get used to that, the mechanics of the basics of hybrid picking. And then you can kind of pick and choose. Maybe you start leaning towards one over the other. And that's really the point I want to make here, is that it's about collecting tools for your toolbox. It's not about saying, well, I have to pick this way because, you know, Guitar Hero X, Y, and Z, pick this way. Pick a way that's comfortable for you. I want you to keep it fun. I want you to keep it comfortable, because if it's fun, if it's comfortable, if you enjoy playing, well, then you're of course going to come back for more. So which of those picking styles do you favor the most? Have you had a chance to try all of them? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. I'm always curious as to what you run into and what you have tried, because I know when I was learning guitar, I just felt like I started stumbling into things and was like, wow, what's this? Somebody picks with a pick and their fingers at the same time. I had no clue this stuff existed. This was prior to YouTube being really any sort of a thing. So I just had to use my imagination as to how people were playing. Like, I didn't know Jimmy Page hybrid picked Black Mountainside. I didn't know that Mance Lipscomb was playing this finger style. I just kind of heard it and had to imagine what was happening. So again, let me know in the comments which one of those picking styles you liked. I will be going into each of those in a lot more detail in future episodes. I know that that was very brief kind of overview of each of those styles, but I just want to put them on your radar in case you weren't aware. You know, sometimes you come into guitar and you think of it as just one singular way, and then the more you start digging, the more you're like, oh, there's more than one way to skin a cat here. Before we go to the next section, now we're going to talk about an OM size guitar from the folks at B&G. B&G, they're a phenomenal guitar manufacturer. I most associate them with electric guitars. They have this model, I think it's called the Little Sister. It's like an electric blues machine. It's a beautiful guitar to look at. It sounds incredible as well. But they've been making acoustic guitars, and I feel like they kind of live under the radar. These guitars are very well built with very choice tone woods, and I am blown away, as I think you will be too, with this OM size guitar that they sent me. Wait till you see the back and sides on this thing. It's like dreamboat situation. I don't even know if people use that term anymore. Anyways, we're gonna get to that in a moment. I just wanted to give you a quick little update in my kind of personal musical life. I just sent off the tracks I recorded, my own songs that I recorded back in winter, a couple months ago. Just sent them off to mastering, and I also think I found somebody to do the artwork for the album. So I'm very excited. This is kind of the stage in recording or making your own music where you've done all the hard work, you've written the songs, you've recorded the songs, and now you're just kind of waiting for this final polishing. It's very difficult to wait, but I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna sound fantastic. It's somebody who I've worked with before, and they do great work, originally from Montana, now they're in Nashville. So I'm excited, and as for the artist, I believe this is the person I'm going with. It's gonna be the fellow who did Charlie Parr's album cover, The Last of the Better Days Ahead. So I'm really excited to kind of get this rolling. I'm very impatient, but I'm counting on you to help me, stay on the ground and be patient. Anyways, with all that, let's go ahead and dive into this B&G OM. I think you're gonna be floored with this guitar. It's likely something you've never heard before, because B&G isn't, they're not one of the big three guitar manufacturers, but they certainly can compete with them. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at this gorgeous guitar. It is absolutely striking, and when you see the back and sides on this, your jaw is going to drop, but I'm not going to reveal that quite yet. This is the B&G Private Build Orchestra model. This was released about a year ago, give or take, after their first foray into the acoustic world with the Coletta, which I've reviewed before. It's a fantastic small-bodied, I would call it a blues guitar. This guitar is a bit of a Swiss Army knife. It's really good at a lot of things. So let's hit your burning question right off the bat. How much is the B&G Private Build Orchestra model? It actually ranges between $5,200 to $8,000. And I say that it ranges because it really depends on the back and side wood that you choose. This is essentially coming out of a custom shop. So you have your pick of the litter when it comes to back and side woods. They have Indian rosewood, Madagascar rosewood, Honduran mahogany, quilted mahogany, Ziricote. I think I hit them all, but you've got quite a few options to kind of shape the tone of this instrument. This instrument has a glorious set on the back and sides, a glorious set of tone wood on the back and sides. I'm just not going to reveal it quite yet. Let's talk specs on the B&G Private Build Orchestra model. As I mentioned, it's a custom shop, so there is going to be some variance in between models, but they do have kind of a set package of specs that they all share in terms of scale length, nut width, etc. So let's dig into those. You've got a solid Adirondack spruce top, an absolutely beautiful white uniform solid Adirondack spruce top, classic OM pickguard, rectangular ebony bridge, which gives you a little bit of that vintage vibe, but it's got a drop-in saddle, so in terms of serviceability, it kind of gives you a leg up. You know, most vintage guitars, or rather guitars that are after a vintage spec, have that long through-cut saddle, which is really difficult to service if you need to adjust the saddle height at all. So that's kind of a hidden bonus of this. You've got torrefied maple binding around the body, and are you ready for it? This has a gorgeous set of quilted maple on the back and sides. When I looked at this, I was just floored. I didn't really even know what I was looking at. I'm like, dare I say it has a little bit of the tree vibe. This is not the tree, but it's a beautiful piece of quilted mahogany. For those of you who don't know, the tree is just kind of this lauded piece of tone wood that is known for its wild figure. This definitely has some aspects of that. Solid mahogany neck, also bound in torrefied maple. You'll see abalone split diamond inlays along the ebony fingerboard. 1 3/4 bone nut, 25.4-inch scale length, so it is true to OM spec. Beautiful abalone inlay on the headstock. You got the B&G logo. Open gear gold tuners that are private labeled. It says B&G Private Build on the back of those. Diamond volute on the back of the neck, which is again kind of a nod to the classic build style of vintage guitars, and it always just looks nice. I like looking at that volute. It makes me feel like somebody took some care in building it. Not saying guitars without volutes don't have care, but it's just a nice little touch, and it feels good when you're playing in first position. So anyway, just a solid set of specs for this guitar, very true to kind of the golden era of OMs, but with the B&G twist. It's got their scalloped X bracing on the inside, so it definitely has power, and it also has this almost compressed feel. It'd be a great recording guitar, that's for sure. guitar comes with a beautiful Cedar Creek hard shell case. It's kind of got a cloth exterior. It's gorgeous. Certificate of authenticity and all that jive. So what do I think about this guitar? You know, we're dealing with a high-end instrument here. So where does it sit in terms of the Martins you're going to run into, the Gibsons you're going to run into, the Taylors, Bourgeois, etc.? I think this definitely holds its own. It's got some great depth of tone. I think the mahogany with this particular body size is a great match. That's no knock on rosewood or any of the other tone woods, but it really has this dry cutting fundamental that makes the guitar pop. It makes the guitar really speak. You have great separation between the strings. And in terms of comfort and playability, you know, it really falls under your fingers in terms of fretting chords, fretting single notes. I feel like you don't have to play it necessarily all that hard to get sound from it, although you can dig in. I think that Addy spruce top really does offer a lot of punch and a lot of headroom, even though it is a little compressed because of the body size. And when I say compressed, I don't mean that in a negative way by any means. I mean the guitar is relatively controlled. It feels like that feather touch of like a race car on the gas pedal. I've never driven a race car, but I've heard. You can just kind of feather the gas and it reacts. That's kind of how I feel this guitar reacts to picking, whether you're finger picking or whether you're flat picking. Overall, I'm pretty stoked on this guitar. I mean, for a guitar company that I've always associated with electric guitars, they have that, I think it's called the B&G Little Sister, just a beautiful electric blues guitar, just oozes mojo. To see them making acoustic guitars on a small format is really exciting because they can put a lot of care to the attention, they can put a lot of attention to the detail and care in the building of these instruments. If I didn't mention it before, I don't think I did. It's got a dovetail neck joint, so again, it's kind of got that nod to vintage era instruments, but again, with that B&G twist on it. Beautiful instruments. I encourage you to check out the B&G website. They've got some great pictures up there. You can learn a lot from it. And all in all, you'll see some killer guitars, again, on the electric side of things, but also on the acoustic side of things. The Coletta that I have is phenomenal, and this is a great addition to the lineup. It's very different from the Coletta. The Coletta has this thunky blues kind of feel, a great punch. This guitar has a little bit more richness. It's got a little bit more lush body than the Coletta, so it's a really great addition to their lineup, and I think it really shows what they can do in terms of tone shaping and what they can do in terms of voicing a guitar to be different but still kind of fall in that line of, oh, that's a B&G guitar. And there's not a lot of them out there. So I think they're, in terms of comparison, it's kind of hard to say, oh, that has a specific B&G sound. But I do see some characteristic sounds between the two guitars, the Coletta, smaller bodied version, and this orchestra model. It's got some great composure in the middle strings, the D and the G string, that I think on some guitars gets lost. So all in all, if you get a chance to check one of these out, please do. I think you'll be pretty darn pleased. Now I've got a couple questions for you. Number one, what'd you think of the guitar? What did you think of that OM guitar from B&G? I'm curious as to what you heard, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what'd you think of the aesthetic? What'd you think of the back and sides? Let me know in the comments below. But I also have a trivia question for you. And this one might be a little bit of a low-hanging fruit. I think it's kind of easy, but maybe it's not. So let me go ahead and ask it, and you can determine for yourself if it's easy or not. In what year was the OM, the orchestra model, introduced, and by which manufacturer? In what year was the OM introduced, and by what manufacturer? I'll go ahead and give you some time to think on that. You can plop a guess in the comments if you'd like, but I'll reveal that answer in just a little bit. But first, well, second, I guess, I don't know. But next, we're gonna listen to a story from Attack member Wendy D. Now, one of the big pushes, one of the things that has inspired me to kind of revive the show is hearing stories from guitar players of all levels, of all different experience levels and what have you, and hearing how the guitar has impacted their life. And I remember, actually, this is a total side story. I remember at one point one of my guitar students, in-person students, so this was like, gosh, this was years and years ago. This was probably 15, 20 years ago, somewhere that makes me feel old. Anyways, I remember one of the parents asking me what my end goal was. And I thought that was a rather odd question because I always thought like teaching guitar was my end goal, and I had achieved that. It was great. I was teaching guitar. And then the more I thought about it, I said, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to write a book about why people play guitar. Now, this was a very flippant answer. This wasn't something I had put a ton of thought into, but it's always something that has intrigued me as to the reason why somebody plays. Like the deep down why. Not the I want to play cool songs, not the, I want to impress my friends, not the I want to get, girls or guys or whatever. The deep-seated reason as to why. What's that internal driver? And come to find out, one of the things that I want to include on this revived Acoustic Tuesday show is stories from people like you who play guitar for these very heartfelt reasons. And I want to celebrate that. I feel like, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I feel like there's so much fakeness out there. Whether you're surfing YouTube or Instagram, you see guitar players playing things that are perfect, playing, 5 million beats per minute. You don't see the mistakes. You don't see the grind. You don't see the grit. You oftentimes question whether something's even real, if it's AI or if it's not. So I wanted to start sharing real stories by real people, and more importantly, get into the heart of the matter of what drives them. And I think Wendy's story is one that will literally, you'll have your jaw on the floor. I met Wendy, I think 2017 at the Acoustic Life Festival, a festival we used to put on here in Bozeman. And she was just a joy, a light. I mean, she came to guitar a little bit later in her life, to the best of my recall of her story. And the reason that she plays is something that I never talked to her in person about. But when she submitted her guitar story, I read it and I just was taken aback. So I want you to have that same feeling I did. I think it really will make you think about your own guitar journey. It will really make you think about what you want out of the guitar and really out of life in general. So without further ado, let me cue up Wendy's story for you. After my mom died of early onset dementia in 2006, I became quietly obsessed with keeping my brain healthy. Her decline was so fast, too fast. We could barely keep up as she moved from her home to assisted living to nursing care. One of my deepest fears has always been that I might follow the same path. So on my birthday in 2015, I made a decision. I picked up a guitar. I loved music, but this wasn't just about passion. I had read that learning an instrument could create new neural pathways, helping to preserve brain function. Every time I felt frustrated as a beginner, I'd think of Mom, how much she loved music. I'd picture those little neural connections forming in my mind like sparks. That image still inspires me today. As I got more comfortable with the guitar, a new desire emerged. I wanted to create. I took songwriting workshops and started writing lyrics. Eventually, I collaborated with a friend to write a song called It Occurs to Me. It was about aging and legacy. The chorus goes, "It occurs to me, life is never done. Like the rising sun, it occurs to me. It occurs to me a part will always stay. To live another day, it occurs to me." My dad loved that song. On February 22nd, 2020, just before the COVID shutdown, I sat beside him in hospice and sang it to him as he took his last breaths. He had randomly bought the guitar I used at an auction for $100. He never played it, but it always sat propped up in his living room for me to use whenever I visited. That moment, sitting on his bed playing his guitar, singing the words I wrote, felt like the reason I had ever picked up the instrument in the first place. Every chord I'd practiced was for that moment. I've since upgraded to a custom Martin 0028 that I adore, but that old auction guitar still holds a special place in my heart. My guitar journey has grown into something bigger. I started a YouTube channel and a website where I collect and share my songs as a legacy project for my kids, my grandson Eli, and future generations. I recently became a grandma and recorded a whole collection of children's songs just for him. And those lyrics, they still ring true. A part will always stay to live another day. Even when I'm gone, my songs and the love behind them will remain. That's what the guitar gave me, a way to remember, to honor, and to pass something on. Never underestimate the power of a song. Every Friday, we email out a guitar story just like this to remind you what really matters, so your playing stays rooted in meaning, not just practice. If you'd like to receive the Friday email or submit a guitar story of your own, go to guitarstories.com. Now let's get to the burning question of the day, not the trivia question. Trivia answers coming in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the bone that needs to be removed from your body if you're a guitarist. You need to remove a bone and you need to build a muscle. And they actually relate. This is not an anatomy lesson. This is something I've made up. I think I actually heard it somewhere, but I can't remember where I heard it. So I'm going to fail to give credit to whomever said this before. But you need to remove the embarrassment bone from your body and build your learning muscle. And I say this because so often we look at guitar playing, learning guitar, as this thing we choose to do, and then we quite simply go do it, right? That's what we think of it in our mind. When you go to actually learn guitar, it's way different. There's games that your mind plays, especially if you're coming to guitar later in life. I've seen this with tons of students. I've seen this with my own dad. I've seen this with me, ironically, as I get older. Your brain starts to question what you're doing. Your brain starts to feel like, I don't know, threatened, I guess, in a way. And the embarrassment, at least for me, seems to ramp up. Like I'm more scared of goofing up. So I want you to try your best to remove the embarrassment bone from your body. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to build your learning muscle. Again, these aren't actual pieces of our bodies, but just to kind of place it in your mind. You know, learning guitar is tough. It's really easy when you start, but then you build up a base of knowledge and you can kind of lean on that like a soft, cushy pillow. You can just lay in that. You can just relish around in the stuff that you learn and just sit with it forever. But making the conscious choice to learn something new that's outside your current skill set will make a drastic impact on your progress as a guitar player. And you're looking at me right now, you're thinking, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, learn something new. It makes you better, blah, blah, blah. It's the act of doing it, okay? We can all talk about learning new things, and it's gonna make us better. But it's actually doing it. It's putting in the time, sounding terrible, sounding like you don't even know how to play the guitar. You might be able to play 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 songs, even more than that, just fine. But when you try something new, it feels terrible. It feels like you don't know what you're doing. God forbid somebody hear you try something new and they kind of look at you and think to themselves, gosh, I thought they were getting better, but yikes. That is a scary feeling. But the more you build that learning muscle, forcing yourself to push outside your comfort zone and really pushing yourself to do it, taking action, the more that embarrassment starts to kind of secede. It starts to kind of retreat and go back. And I can't explain it. I don't really have a scientific backup for this, but I know for a fact if you force yourself to that uncomfortable place of learning something new and truly not knowing it and learning it, that the embarrassment piece, that fear of messing up starts to dwindle. It starts to become this very dull voice as opposed to this very prominent voice saying, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, oh gosh, that's scary. So ultimately, I want to work in some coaching on the Acoustic Tuesday show because I feel like we all know that there are things we want to get better at. But nobody ever, grabs us by the shoulder and says, hey, the mental game is just as important as sitting down and doing it. In fact, I think in a lot of cases, the mental game is a lot more important. Because if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right attitude, for lack of a better term, going into it, you can defeat yourself before you even start. So here's my prescription for this week, for you. Focus on learning something new that is outside your current skill set. And really take a focused effort and really sit down and learn it. It might be uncomfortable, but sit with that feeling of just despair and uncomfortable, that uncomfortable feeling. Train yourself to do that, because I think the more you do that, the more that embarrassment feeling or that fear of embarrassment is going to go down. That's my prescription for you. That's it. Okay, I will step off the soapbox. I owe you a trivia answer. Just a quick recap. Your trivia question was, in what year was the OM, the orchestra model, introduced, and by what manufacturer? For those that don't know, the OM is a body size. It's an orchestra model size guitar, a little bit smaller than a Dread, same scale length. But who introduced that model and in what year? Well, if you found yourself typing in the comments that in 1929, the folks at Martin Guitar introduced that model, you'd be correct. You'd be correct. I feel like it was a little bit of a low-hanging fruit because Martin made a lot of waves, in the early 1900s, introducing new models, etc. But just a fun fact, a fun Guitar Geek trivia fact for you. So 1929, made by the folks at Martin. I think it's about time for me to sign off for today. But before I do so, I do want to remind you that if you are an older adult learning guitar, please check out Tony's Acoustic Challenge. Every single week, I teach the fundamentals of guitar through nostalgic songs that you love, really proving that you can learn the fundamentals of guitar by playing songs. You don't have to, drudge through boring exercises and things like that. Plus, there's over 41,000 students already in there. It's a thriving community and a place that I think is very comfortable for somebody coming to guitar a little bit later in life, especially given the songs that we focus on. So please check that out. The link is in the description. You can click on that to learn more. Now, a quick sneak peek into next week. Oh, next week. Next week, we're going to talk about doom scrolling. We're going to talk about doom scrolling next week and the benefits of it. Yes, the benefits of it. And it actually relates to something I spoke about on today's show. Yes. There's benefits to doom scrolling, I promise. We're gonna talk about them next week. We're also gonna do a flat pick bonanza, and you're gonna hear a story from TAC member Rob Z. This one is another one that just took my breath away. It's just, there's so many of these stories out there. I can't wait to continue sharing them with you because wow, just wow. So that's happening next week on Acoustic Tuesday. I'm actually trying out a new flat pick I'm gonna share with you in next week's episode. I think you'll dig it. That's coming next week on the Acoustic Tuesday show. Remember, you can watch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I am just beyond thrilled to be back doing the show. I'm like a puppy in a dog food store or something with a broken bag of dog food. I'm just loving every second of this, and I want to hang with you as much as I possibly can. So thank you so much for watching today, and please do remember this: your guitar success, however you define it for yourself, is directly related to your guitar routine. So please invest the time in developing your guitar routine and make sure to have fun every single day that you play. I remembered it. It was like muscle memory. It's just coming back to me. Thank you again for watching today, and I'll see you next Tuesday on the Acoustic Tuesday show. Cheers to you.